Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I am doing the mid-year book freakout tag. So I'm going to get right into it. Number 1 is best book you've read so far in 2021. So I'm not going to count rereads. And I have 2. I chose one for fiction, one for nonfiction. So the best fiction I've read this year is going to go to Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. There are definitely books that I think I liked more immediately when I was done reading them, but the more removed I am from reading this book, like the farther removed I am, the more I'm finding this is sticking with me more than anything else I've read. So I think it has to go to this. I have a full review of this book, a spoiler-free review that I will put up. But yeah, this just is staying with me. I keep going back and thinking about it. And I think this is something that I will definitely revisit in the future. Prompt number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far in 2021. I haven't read a lot of sequels, so I didn't have much to choose from. So I'm going to give this to Saga Volume 3 by Brian K. Vaughan and illustrated by Fiona Staples. So this is a comic space opera, and I liked the first 2, but there was something about this one that I thought really stood out above the other 2. But it has a lot of really weird and interesting characters, and it's really dark, but also like humorous. So it's just very much my type of thing. So prompt number 3 is a new release you haven't read yet, but want to. So for this, I am choosing The Yield by Tara June Winch. This is written by an Australian Indigenous author. It's been described as a celebration of language and an exploration of what makes a place home. And those 2 topics, I guess, I find very interesting. I love language a lot, and I also like when stories explore home and what that means to different people. This I was planning to read in April for Aussie April. I actually had a buddy read all set up with Scott and Nell from Gunpowder Fiction and Plot. So about a week or something before our buddy read was scheduled, I was going to go to the store to buy my own copy. Usually I get things out of the library, but my library didn't have a copy, which didn't really surprise me because my library's system here is quite small and they don't carry new releases very often. It usually takes them a while to get in books. But I couldn't find it locally, like at the store. So I went online and I'm like, I guess I'll have to order in a copy. And then that's when I realized it wasn't scheduled to come out in Canada until mid-June. So I couldn't read it for Aussie April. So my copy did come in a couple weeks ago, so I can finally read it. So this is my pick for a new release that I really want to read. Prompt number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. I don't have one. I don't really follow like book releases, so I don't even know what's coming out, honestly. I think maybe the 3rd installment of the Tristan Strong series is coming out, 3rd and final, I think. That's a middle grade like fantasy series that I think is really good, so we'll say that one. Prompt number 5 is biggest disappointment. This absolutely has to go to Tender as the Flesh by Agustina Bazterrica. Everybody loves this book. It's super hyped, but I thought it was awful. It has all the things that I should like. I love horror. It's a horror. It's a dystopian, and I love dystopian stories. And I love dark content. This is about a dystopian society where people breed other people for the consumption of their meat, in case you didn't know. But I thought this was utterly boring, uninteresting, lacking in commentary. It was super sexist, with an ending that was purely done for shock value, which wasn't shocking at all because I saw it coming like 10 miles away. So yeah, this was just a huge disappointment because I thought I was going to love this book, and it's the worst book I've read all year so far. Prompt number 6 is biggest surprise. This has to go to Moby Dick by Herman Melville. I did want to read this because it's one of those classics that just kind of permeate pop culture and everyone seems to know about it if they haven't read it. And so I was intrigued to read it for that reason, just to say that I've read it so I knew the story. But I didn't expect to really enjoy it that much. I was more reading it for curiosity's sake, I guess. And I was expecting it to be boring, honestly. But it was so much fun. There are some parts of the book that are a little bit drier, but on the whole, there's a lot of comedy in this book. And there's also a lot of like good adventure scenes, but there's lots of deeper themes and a lot to discuss about this book. I buddy read it with Courtney Ferriter, and I'm so glad I buddy read it because we were able to discuss so many of the things going on in this book, and it really, I think, enriched the reading experience for me. So yeah, it was both engaging and thought-provoking, and I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did, and it's another one I will definitely read again in the future. Prompt number 7 is favorite new author, either a debut author or a new to you author. I don't think I've read any debut authors this year, so I chose a new to me author, Daphne du Maurier. Boy, oh boy, can she paint a portrait? Can she set a scene? I felt completely immersed in the setting of Rebecca. That's the book that I read. I loved all of the gothic elements. I loved how intimate the narration was, like you're in the narrator's head, and you get a quite intimate, quite close, quite deep understanding of what she's thinking and feeling. That writing style just really worked for me. So yeah, I really loved Rebecca. I really loved Daphne du Maurier's writing style. So I will definitely be picking her up again. Prompt number 8 is newest fictional crush. So I don't really get crushes from reading books, but I wanted to answer this. So I was thinking, if this wasn't in book format, like if an adaptation was made out of the book, like who do I think I would have a crush on as a character? And I have an answer, and it's, I don't know how to pronounce his name because I don't have the pronunciation guide with me because this is a fantasy book, so of course it has weird names in it, but I think it's pronounced Isgrimner. I think he would be it. So he's a character in the, actually I have it here, in the fantasy trilogy by Tad Williams, Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy. So he is a character in those books, and I can't even remember how he was described, but how I envisioned him in my head. He definitely falls within my type because I definitely have a type, and my type is like tall and scruffy. If you are clean shaven, like stop wasting my time. Someone who is kind of rugged and rough around the edges, but like with a tender heart. And I really just like got that sense from his Grimner. So I will put some pictures of like what I am talking about. So people in like TV or movies that have like characters that have fit this type for me have been like Sawyer from Lost. Good scruff, great scruff, rough around the edges. I forget the character's name, but Joe Manganiello's character from True Blood. This man is like 12,000 feet tall, scruffy, rugged, into it. Aragorn from Lord of the Rings, like Viggo Mortensen in that movie, is just very nice. The character that basically started it all, my first crush ever as a child, was 1000% Indiana Jones. I mean, granddaddy of scruff, masculine ruggedness. We'll stop there, but I think you get a sense of what I'm talking about, and that's how I kind of envisioned Isgrimner in my head as looking like. Prompt number 9 is newest favorite character. I'm going to go with Lord Henry from the Picture of Dorian Gray. He's not exactly a likable character, but I think he has lots of layers. I think he is a really interesting character to dissect. I just find him endlessly fascinating. Just watching him like gleefully corrupt a young man in Dorian Gray was just wild. But yeah, I think his character is fascinating. book number 10, A Book That Made You Cry. This one really sticks out to me because I was listening to it on audiobook, and I actually had to pull over onto a side street to have a bit of a sob. And it's Mamaskatch by Darrel J. McLeod. So it's his memoir and it's about his life, but the first section of the book deals with his mother's life, because her life obviously is important to his life, and it talks about intergenerational trauma. And his mother had gone to residential school in Canada, and it was like the first chapter kind of describing some of her experiences there. And it was a lot. It was a lot to listen to. It was hard to listen to given the fact that I have a daughter the same age that she would have been when she went to residential school, and like thinking of my kid like going through that was just like, it was horrible. It was horrible. So I kept like seeing my own kid having those experiences, and it was too much, and I had to pull over. It completely broke my heart. I would recommend the memoir, but it's a tough read. Book 11 is A Book That Made You Happy. I typically read like dark things, so this was a struggle to come up with, but I'm going to go with Black Flamingo by Dean Atta. This is a YA in verse. It is a queer story about a gay boy. It's his coming of age. It's him becoming involved in the drag scene. It's a queer story without the trauma. Like, he does go through hardships, but overall it is a joyful book. Prompt number 12 is most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. And no contest, it is Wicked by Gregory and Maguire. I love the contrast between the green and the black and the white, and also it has green edges. It's just gorgeous all around. Haven't read it yet, but it is making my bookshelves much prettier to look at. And yeah, this is something that I wasn't expecting to buy, but I saw it at a secondhand shop, and I'm like, I need to have this copy of Wicked. I just need to have it. So this is definitely the prettiest thing I've bought this year. Prompt 13, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? So I'm going to go with To Green Angel Tower by Tad Williams. This is the last installment in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn trilogy. I can never say that. It's a beast. It's like over 1,000 pages. It's on my July TBR. I'm not going to finish it in July. I'm hoping to read it July and August. But realistically, this might creep into September as well. I don't know. But I don't want to let it linger too long. I would like to finish it out as quickly as possible without rushing through it, so that I finish the entire trilogy within the year. So that's one that I really want to read by the end of the year. So I think those are all the questions. Yeah. So I think most people have done this already. But if you haven't done this tag, then I encourage you to do it. I think it's a really fun one. And if you've already done the tag and I've missed it, please comment below. I would love to check out your mid-year book freakout tag. Is that what it's called? Yeah. Mid-year book freakout tag. I hope everyone's doing well, and we'll chat soon. Take care. Bye.